Turkey dominates the Middle East. Its drones are feared by adversaries worldwide. Its military budget is growing, its defense industry is autonomous, and analysts rank it in the top tier of regional powers. So why do military institutions like Global Firepower and IISS still classify Turkey as Tier 2, a top regional force, but not a superpower? 3 numbers. That's it. The US military budget is $850 billion. Turkey's is $16 to $25 billion, roughly 40 times smaller. The US can wage war on multiple continents simultaneously from permanent bases and carrier fleets. Turkey can project power across the Mediterranean and Middle East, but loses effectiveness beyond that. And while Turkey produces thousands of smart bombs annually, the US and China can manufacture hundreds of thousands in a total war scenario because their industrial base is proportionally massive. Turkey isn't weak. It's regional. There's a difference. Let me show you exactly what that means. Military analysts use a tiered classification system that looks something like this. Tier 1 consists of 3 nations with true global reach: the United States, China, and Russia. These are the only countries that can sustain military operations on every continent, in space, underwater, and in the air simultaneously. They have nuclear arsenals, global transportation networks, and production capacity that dwarfs everyone else. Tier 2, and this is where Turkey sits, consists of advanced regional powers. Countries like Turkey, the UK, France, Germany, Japan, South Korea, and India. These are militaries that dominate their specific regions or subregions, field world-class equipment, and possess advanced technology. But they cannot project power globally without support from a Tier 1 ally, and they have hard geographical limits to their influence. Below that sits Tier 3, competent militaries that are strong in their own region or subregion but lack the technology, training, or resources to compete at the highest levels even regionally. Turkey isn't Tier 3. It's nowhere close. But the gap between Tier 2 and Tier 1 is genuinely vast. Quick reality check. If Turkey and the United States went to war right now, who wins? Instantly clear. America by a margin so large the outcome is never in doubt. If Turkey and, say, Iran went to war, Turkey wins decisively. That's the essence of Tier 2. You're a superpower at the regional level, but not at the global level. Now let's look at the specific factors creating that gap. The first and most obvious gap is money. The US spends $850+ billion annually on defense. China spends roughly $300 billion. Russia spends around $100+ billion. Turkey spends $16 to $20 billion. That's not a marginal difference. That's an order of magnitude gap. With $850 billion, the US develops space-based satellite networks that provide global communications, surveillance, and targeting data. It builds nuclear ballistic missile submarines, underwater platforms that can strike any target on Earth from hiding. It sustains a fleet of massive long-range bombers and stealth aircraft that can operate anywhere on the planet. With $16 billion, Turkey builds regional systems optimized for the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and the Caucasus. World-class systems, mind you. Better than most European countries. But they're designed for a 2,000-kilometer radius, not a 12,000-kilometer one. To put that in perspective, if Turkey wanted to match US defense spending as a percentage of GDP, it would need to spend around $70 to $90 billion annually. That's physically impossible without collapsing the economy. The math isn't even close. Second factor, manpower. The US has roughly 1.3 million active military personnel. China has 2.0 million. Russia has 1.3 million. Turkey has 355,000. Now, here's the key point. Turkish soldiers are well-trained, highly experienced in real combat, and widely respected. The Turkish army has been continuously deployed in active conflicts for decades. But sheer numbers matter at scale. If the US mobilizes, It can field forces across multiple theaters simultaneously. Turkey, at 355,000 active troops, has to make hard choices about where to concentrate its forces. And that's before mobilization. During a total war, China can mobilize 100+ million people. Russia can mobilize 20+ million. The US can mobilize similar numbers. Turkey's total population is roughly 85 million, and its actual reserve military capacity is a fraction of that. Again, Turkey isn't weak. But it can't simultaneously defend 3 borders, maintain a carrier air wing, and wage an expeditionary campaign on a different continent. The US can. Third factor, global reach. The United States maintains permanent military bases on 6 continents. It has 11 heavy aircraft carriers capable of projecting air power anywhere in the world within weeks. It has a network of resupply bases, allied bases, and prepositioned equipment scattered across the planet. Turkey has 1 light aircraft carrier, the TCG Anadolu, optimized for drone operations rather than traditional carrier aviation. It has forward bases in Cyprus, Syria, limited, Iraq, limited, and various locations across North Africa through partnerships. But that network is fundamentally different from global reach. Its regional reach, however expansive that region might be. The Mediterranean, the Eastern Middle East, the Black Sea. Turkey controls or heavily influences operations across this zone. But ask Turkey to sustain military operations in the Pacific, the Arctic, Sub-Saharan Africa, or Southeast Asia simultaneously, and the answer is simple. It can't. The logistics aren't there. The bases aren't there. The global supply chain doesn't exist. The fourth factor is industrial capacity at scale. Turkey's defense industry manufactures roughly 6,000 to 7,000 precision-guided munitions annually. That's a massive number, the entire arsenal for many nations. Turkey has achieved genuine defense industrial autonomy in most categories: smart bombs, cruise missiles, air-to-air missiles, drones, armored vehicles. But if a total war scenario erupted tomorrow, the United States could manufacture hundreds of thousands of precision weapons annually. China has similar capacity. The industrial base is proportionally so large that in a protracted conflict, sheer production would overwhelm any Tier 2 nation. This isn't because Turkish engineers are inferior. It's because American factories have 80 years of continuous weapons production experience, thousands of machine tools, supply chains for raw materials, and industrial scale that Turkey simply cannot match without decades of expansion and investment. Now here's the critical flip side. There are specific domains where Turkey is genuinely in the top tier globally, not just regionally. Unmanned aerial systems. Turkey is top 3 in the world, alongside the US and China, in combat drone technology and operational experience. The Bayraktar TB2, AKINCI, Anka 3, and KIZILELMA represent some of the most advanced UCAV platforms currently deployed globally. In some tactical segments, Turkish drones outperform Russian equivalents. That's not regional dominance, that's global class capability. Ground force doctrine. Turkey's army is one of the most continuously combat-experienced militaries in the world. The experience gained from decades of operations in Syria, Iraq, Cyprus, and against various militant groups has created a professional, tactically skilled force. The NATO comparison is stark. Only the US has more active combat experience than Turkey among NATO members. Defense industrial autonomy. Turkey manufactures its own fighter jets, KAAN, Hurjet, drones, missiles, air defense systems, and smart munitions. This is a Tier 1 capability. Only the US, Russia, and China routinely achieve this level of autonomous defense production. Most Tier 2 nations depend heavily on imports. So Turkey isn't universally Tier 2. It's Tier 1 in specific domains, Tier 2 overall, and utterly dominant at the regional level across most military categories. So here's the real question: does Turkey need to be Tier 1 to achieve its strategic goals? The answer is probably no. Turkey's actual security threats, Greece, Syria, Iraq, Iran, are all Tier 2 or lower. Turkey can dominate its region indefinitely without ever becoming a global superpower. In fact, trying to project power globally would drain resources from regional security, which is where Turkey's interests actually lie. But there's a longer-term strategic consideration. As KAAN enters service, as KIZILELMA matures, as the Turkish defense industry accelerates production and innovation, Turkey is quietly narrowing that gap in specific domains. The unmanned systems race is only beginning. If Turkey maintains its current innovation trajectory and can secure the financial investment needed, which depends partly on exports to friendly nations in Africa, the Middle East, and even Southeast Asia, the gap between Tier 2 and Tier 1 becomes narrower. So when analysts classify Turkey as Tier 2, they're not dismissing its military. They're being precise about what Tier 2 means. You dominate your region, you build world-class systems, but you can't project power globally without significant international support. Turkey doesn't need to be a superpower to shape the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and North Africa. It already does. The Tier 2 classification is accurate, but it's also incomplete, because it doesn't account for domains where Turkey actually is Tier 1. Here's my question for you in the comments. Does Turkey need to become a global superpower to achieve its strategic objectives, or has it already achieved everything it actually needs? Let me know what you think. If you want deep strategic analysis of global military forces, subscribe to Intel Prime. Thanks for watching.